Hey, Mike.
Ben, what's up, man?
Well, I thought that since we are currently busy up in Southbridge, Massachusetts,
Yep.
putting on a big old woodworking event, we should give the great listeners of Shop Talk Live a quick episode.
Oh, so that's the reason we're sitting in front of microphones with headphones on.
Yes.
Okay. I had no idea.
I sneak up behind him. I throw the headphones on, stick a microphone. And
give me a big, fat, wet kiss. No.
On that note, yeah, so I guess it's good that we're not doing video this time.
Yes.
So this is going to be an audio-only episode, which is good because my hair is doing... who's the Mary Lou, the gymnast? Mary Lou from the 80s. Retton?
Mary Lou Retton?
Yeah, I got a Mary Lou Retton thing going on.
Oh, I thought it was more the Dorothy Hamill wedge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I don't know, it's working for me.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So, what are you doing at Fine Woodworking Live? You're doing a design.
Yeah, Friday is kind of a pre-registration day, but we do two hands-on classes. Bob Van Dyke is doing his 5-minute dovetail stuff. I'm doing a hands-on design class.
Okay. And then your presentation at Live proper.
Block planes, which, on the surface of it, it's like, well, on one end of the spectrum, it's like, oh, how to design furniture. And then on the other end, oh, how to use a block plane. Really? I need to know how to use a block plane, Mike. So I'm at Fine Woodworking Live. Anyway, the two are actually really related to me because designing furniture, okay, that is what it is. But then it's sort of realizing the concept and turning it into a real piece of furniture. A lot of that has to do with the control you have over shaping the pieces, shaping the fine details, dialing in the design exactly where you want it. And if you think of a block plane, normally we think of it, oh, chamfer's done, put it back in my tool chest. But a block plane, which we kind of associate with, well, hand planes, but unlike a smoothing plane or jack plane, which I consider both of those tools to be surfacing tools, like refining a surface, edges, faces. Block plane, if you think about it, is more of a shaping tool. So
Say more.
So a chamfer, like putting a chamfer on something, putting a rounded edge on something, putting a curve on something, putting a tapered chamfer or curved chamfer on something to refine sort of, either in actuality to sort of determine the shape of something, or to, by being really strategic with it, you can sort of change the perceived shapes of things, make legs look skinnier, make rails look arched or thinner, make tabletops look fatter or thinner.
So I've never thought, because you're right. Anytime I'm using a block plane, I am shaping something.
Right.
So it's more akin to a spoke shave than a number 4.
That's amazing that you said that, because that didn't occur to me until after demonstrating this for 3 years. Oh, it's kind of closer to a spoke shave. I literally just made that connection the other day. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's about, here's some tips for using block plane. Here's some things you can do with it you may not have thought of, but more importantly, here's a way to think of this tool that may have you using it in a way that's going to benefit your work in a lot of ways. So yeah, block planes.
Right now I'm looking to see if I can stick someone else with something else. I could be at one of those presentations because I have to run cameras at all of the presentations. And I'm not. Okay, well, that was pretty much. You'll have to give me a little bit more of a rundown during lunch sometime.
That was pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess everyone who's not at Live just save some money.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So let's answer some Mike Pekovich specific questions.
Cool.
I keep a folder of them, and here are 3.
All right.
Question 1 is from Al.
Hey, Al.
I am having trouble. I don't know why that was funny. I'm having trouble laying out the pins and tails on Wenge in the traditional way, unlike what Mike shows.
Okay, well, here's a tip.
Do what Mike does.
Sorry.
Wenge is extremely hard and not at all forgiving, and the grain tends to be a problem when scribing in wood. Perhaps this is why he chose to do his dovetails with the table saw and router as seen on the classic woodworking show.
Rough cut. Sorry, we have to cut that out now.
Yeah, whatever.
Sorry, Tom.
All right. What'd you just step in? Where can I get the table saw blade and the router bit that Mike uses? He always has great ideas that are very valuable.
Thanks.
Do you do the blue tape because of this, or do you do the table saw and tails because of this?
Yeah, a couple different things. Wenge is really tough. It's a really dark wood. In fact, it's really hard, so you don't see your scribe lines. It's really dark, so you don't see your scribe lines or pencil lines that well. Actually, it was the very first time I tried the blue tape on the end grain because I just couldn't see where I was going. So I would say, yeah, like anything else, it's you got to see your layout lines in order to know where you're going with it. So for me, the blue tape was originated with Wenge, and I just use it on everything now because it's just a cool thing. But in terms of table saw and router methods, I use those sort of independent of Wenge. I use those on everything, so using them on Wenge is fine. Okay. So the table saw blade, meaning the table saw blade with all the teeth ground in the same direction at a certain angle. In my case, I've got a blade ground at 8.5 degrees, so I tilt it 8.5 degrees. Make a cut, rotate the workpiece, make another cut, and I have almost the entire pin socket established on my tails board. So that goes really quick. But
the table saw and router method came out of you just wanting to get through dovetails quicker, right?
Yeah, it's the notion that whatever machines can do for me, I let them do it. Wherever I have to get in with hand tools because it's the best and most efficient, most accurate way to do it, out come the hand tools. So, for instance, I use a table saw to cut my tails because that's non-critical. I can make those at any angle I want, wherever I want in terms of spacing because I'm going to be scribing my pins from whatever those cuts are.
Yeah.
So that's where the table saw comes in, and it does it really quickly. And then on the back end, once you make your saw cuts, it's really just getting rid of the waste down to the shoulder. So it's just manual labor, which you can chop out, you can cope and chop out. I tend to cope out most of the waste and then use a little bearing guided bit to just route to the base. So nothing more than just, well, this is a really fast, accurate way to do this. I can chop it. Yeah, it depends on the wood, but for the most part, I bust out the router and the table saw. So the table saw blade, mine happens to be a Forest blade. Forest, I don't know if there are other manufacturers that do this. Ridge, possibly. But Forest, you can order a blade, brand new blade ground at the specific angle that you want. And they happen to be good blades. But if you send a flat top grind-in blade to any saw sharpener, they should be able to grind that at whatever angle you want. So,
and it's probably pretty affordable. Table saw sharpening is affordable in general.
Yeah.
So a regrind, I'm sure it's based on teeth count.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
$30 or $40, something.
Yeah, so if you've got like your old table saw blade lying around.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking even if it's an alternating tooth blade,
I bet they can regrind.
You still regrind it to one angle. I think it's still going to work. Maybe you're hitting every other tooth, and until you get it ground all the way down. But
at this point, it's a machine
doing
it. So it's like it's not a guy sitting there with a diamond file.
No,
smoking a cigarette over the place.
And then the router bit. I think it's the Whiteside 3000 something. I use it's a 1/4 inch shank, 1/2 inch diameter bit, 1/4 inch length of the bit with a bearing at the shank end of things. So as you're holding the router, you're holding the workpiece vertically, the router is down, the bearing is riding on the portion of the pin that you've already sawn, and it's just cleaning out the waste. I used to do it with just a straight bit, but you had to be careful not running into the pin walls. I learned this from Will Neptune. No, just use a bearing on the bit. and it just rides on the pins. And you don't have to worry about inadvertently cutting into anything. And it's like brilliant. One of those classic Will Neptune things where it's like, oh,
duh.
Yeah.
I use, in a few episodes we had talked about this, how I had bought, it was a Diablo bit from Home Depot.
Okay.
And it had the undersized, or was it oversized?
Oversized bearing.
Oversized bearing. And wow, was there like a rush of woodworking emotional support in the community of listeners out there. There were so many people that were like, I've bought that same bit too. And somebody said, listen, it's a great bit. Just get the right bearing for it.
Yes.
Because it's actually like a, I can't think of it's, it's a shear bit. It's not just straight walled. What's the?
Yeah, it's sort of at a sheer angle.
Yeah.
The flutes are slightly angled.
Thank you. And we're really, really lucky. And at any given week, one of us in the office is headed up to Woodcraft to shoot with Bob Van Dyke.
Yes.
So Barry was headed up there and said, hey, man, can you pick me up a half-inch bearing with a quarter-inch inside diameter? And he bought it for like $5.
Oh, cool. I didn't know they had just parts.
There you go.
Great.
So if you ever buy that bit, apparently there's a Porter Cable hinge template
for doors, like big doors.
Yeah, for like big construction doors or something like that uses that specific bit.
Yeah, so it's not a mistake. It's just we're using it for a different purpose and it doesn't quite work out.
And it should be labeled a little bit better than it is.
Yeah. But I mean, the manufacturer, they're thinking, what do you mean you're using this to route dovetail waste?
What's a pin?
Yes. So yeah.
But it works great once you have the right bearing for it.
Cool.
All right. So here's another question about your Wenge tea box, and this we've actually had a lunchtime conversation about this, but Madison asks, I was wondering how long it took Mike to build the tea box featured in the magazine issue number 269. And we have talked about this, and I was shocked. Okay, so Mike Pekovich sits down. This is all I'm doing. How long is that going to take?
So milling the stock, it's not a lot of stock. So boxes are one of those things where, I'm just going to grab some scraps. It's like, no, I need wood. This is the wrong size. I got to go buy wood. The milling, because it's really skinny stuff, you're doing some resawing, joining, planing. So give yourself 2 hours to mill my stock. Boom. Dovetails, depends on how long it takes you to do a little dovetail box. It's 3 dovetails, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. So, and then you have to cut some table saw grooves in the top and bottom and get your surface prep. So give yourself a half a day to dovetail the box and get it glued together. So I kind of break it down into 3, if you want to, and if your woodworking days are partial, I consider this a 3-day project where get your lumber milled, get your dovetail box cut, glued up in 1 day.
Okay.
Second day, you're going to saw it apart. You're going to install all of the little mitered lining that goes into it. Mm-hmm. That's some more resawing, some V-groove bits, some, fitting of the miters. So it's simple stuff, but it's fussy. Take your time with that. So now you have a box with a sawn-off lid. You lift it up, and here's a really cool little miter divider glued and dropped in place. And then the third day, you're making your little feet, which is just 2 cross feet with a long crossbar drilled with some holes in it. That's there just so you can wrap your cord through it and terminate it somehow. And then you've got to make your little ebony clasp, thread that, wrap it, call it good. So let's call that day 3.
Okay.
So I would call it, is it a weekend project? Yeah, if you're really going, you got 2 full days. I think it's a nice weekend project. Are you working a couple hours a day? It's a week-long project probably.
There must be something fundamentally wrong with me because I look at that, and I'm a woodworker. I do this all the time. I know how long it should take me, but I look at that project and think like, oh, Mike could probably knock that out in a day. But
I do too when I'm pricing it. And then
I think this is how the conversation came up. Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I priced it, oh, that's fair. And then I made it. I said, I will never, ever sell one of these things again. So,
so that's not just me. I always think that I'm going to get way more done in a given day than I do. I'm starting to figure out how long it takes me to do tasks.
yeah.
But it's just, you always think you can do more than you can do. And I think other woodworkers can do more than I could do, or they could do probably.
Yeah. And, boxes, the idea, well, there's another style of box you can make quicker. It's like, kind of. But then, okay, let's say I'm going to do a box with table saw miters and splines in the corners. Yeah, that's a lot quicker. But if you're setting up to do one of those, you probably should do at least like 10 of those while you're at it.
Yeah.
So then it's sort of like, yeah, a table saw miter box with a rounded lid sawn off. Okay, so in and of itself, it's not going to take as long as a dovetail box, but because it's a lot of machine setup and you may as well batch a bunch, you're milling 10 times the stock, you end up with 10 boxes in about the same time it takes you to make one box, but not one box in a tenth of the time it takes you to make a dovetail box.
Yeah, so I was gonna. All right, so that tee box, how long would it take you to make? So 3 days for one. How long would it take you to make 2, and how long would it take you to make 5? You think?
There's not the same amount of time savings because a dovetail is a dovetail. It's still going to take you time to cut. I mean, there are some efficiencies. You got to mill up that much more lumber, so you're not saving time there. Yeah, you can tape all your parts together when you're sawing your dovetails, so you're saving some time there. But you still got to scribe, saw, cope, route every single piece, saw them all apart. Maybe you're saving a little bit of time on the miter divider. So it's not, I'd say it's maybe 2 and 1.5 the time it takes to make one, not a big savings.
Okay, yeah. So the second dovetails come into the equation. You're not the rule of multiples isn't really okay.
Whereas like the table sawn box, however long it would take you to make one table sawn box, you could probably make 10 in twice that time. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Some things multiples are efficient. Other things they're not. Yeah. So you'll learn pretty quickly whenever you decide to make 5 of anything, whether that was a good idea or not.
Yeah.
So, the other part of the question, how long did it take me to do the tee box, is more that philosophical answer.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, in that obviously it took a lot of boxes before this to get up to this particular design.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
The first one cost $1 million.
Yes. It's like the first egg one of your chickens lays. That's an $800 egg. Yeah.
800, right. Okay, so we didn't plan a segment, but I am going to say that my all-time favorite tool of all time for this week is my new Steam box.
Ah.
Well, I'm like a bending fool right now because I've got a Steam box going on. And while I even had parts steaming in it while I was making a bending iron or hot pipe bending apparatus.
This is for your journey into the baritone ukulele land.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
What kind of steam box? Like with the long box? With the plywood?
Yeah. I did it from Jeff Lefkowitz's little manual, just a 4-foot long box.
A little electric steam kettle thing?
Yep. Cool. And I did what I thought was genius and used a compressor coupler, quick disconnect for the hose. So I could unplug everything real quick and hook it up.
Did that work out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But man, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it works, right?
It works. So right now, as practice, I've been making guitar hangers.
Okay.
Just like a little bent piece of wood with a little notch cut out to hang guitars on the wall.
Oh, cool.
And I'm using kiln-dried stock. And I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of trying to get good at bending kiln-dried stock because it's so much more approachable than having to find air-dried stock.
Right.
But I'm learning that there's a reason why everyone says get air-dried stock.
Okay.
Because I can get the bends, I just can't get them clean.
In terms of a smooth curve or
buckling on the inside.
Oh, okay.
And even if I use a compression strap,
right,
there's just a little bit of buckling going on.
Okay.
I might even bring one to live to like talk to Peter Galbert and Michael Fortune about it, and just see if they think if they think I'm a tweak or two away, or if they think I'm an idiot.
Is it like, yeah, just sand it? Or is it more like how thick of the stock you're talking about?
Well, yeah, I could just sand it, Mike. But
Well,
how much fun is that? I want to nail it. I want to get it right.
Oscillating spindle sander.
I know that's on my wish list right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, give me those buckled guitar hangers. I'll sand those for you.
This luthier thing is making me like all of a sudden be like, okay, I need that rigid spindle sander.
Yes.
And I think I might need a drum sander.
Everybody needs a rigid spindle sander just because it's a crazy good value and nothing else does it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so how thick is the stock that's buckling? And what is it?
I think it's, watch this. I think it's 3 millimeters.
Oh.
Jerry.
What's a millimeter? So 3, is that like a fat eighth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fat eighth would be a good way of saying it, I guess. No, it's more than 3 millimeters. No, it was 5 millimeters. I'm sorry. I'm getting that mixed up with something
6/12,
else.
quarter. So heavy 3/16.
I'd say a shy
quarter inch.
A shy quarter inch.
Okay.
Yeah. You say heavy 3/16. I say shy quarter inch.
They're two different things.
Let's cut the whole thing off.
No. Wow, and you're even buckling. How tight is your radius?
It's
like,
audio only audience.
like 2-inch radius, smaller,
yeah,
1.5
probably.
inch. Okay.
I'll bring in one.
All right.
I've you know what? I've got one done and with a uke hanging on the wall right now, and it's really freaking cool. But this is great audio while I try and find
It is great.
this photo to just show Mike.
Yes. Oh, there it is. I can see it and no one else can.
I'll show you later.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Speaking of steam bending and favorite tools of all time, I was going to say a really, really long push stick, which has nothing to do with steam bending. But I got to say, because I use it every day and it's amazing, and it's steam bent, is that spoon you made me.
Oh, cool.
Ben made me this little spoon with a little crook at the bottom and little string wrapped handle. I use that at work. It's sitting next to my pair of tea jars where I keep various varieties of oolong teas in them. I lift up the lid. I put my little spoon in there. I get this perfect pile of dried tea and put it in my little teapot and take it into the office kitchen at 3 o'clock every day for my tea.
Tea time.
But just that little spoon is like perfect. And every time I pick it up, it's like, it's my spoon Ben made me every single time. And it's perfect. So
good.
I don't know.
I'm glad it's getting used.
Yes.
Good. Awesome. You want to answer another question or do you?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. From Matt. How would someone go about preparing Kumiko strips without a table saw or drum sander?
That's pretty easy as long as you have a bandsaw. So Matt, if you have a bandsaw, mill up your stock, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches wide to the thickness of the stock is going to be the height of your bars. So for me, that's anywhere from 1/4 to 3/8 to 1/2 inch thick. Set up your bandsaw to take whatever kerf. Oh, you don't have a table saw. That's okay.
This is like a doomsday scenario that you can't put yourself into.
So just set up your bandsaw to take the stock to, slightly thicker than what your final thickness is. Let's say that's 1/8 of an inch. Head it up for a heavy 1/8. Rip off a strip of the bandsaw, rejoint that edge with a hand plane, and keep ripping off all these strips. So you have all these strips where you have one really clean face, and a second face is a bandsaw face. And it's slightly thicker than what you want. Make yourself one of those little block plane shooting boards. So, basically there's 2 strips of wood, roughly 1/8 of an inch thick that the block plane rides on either edge of the block plane is sitting on top of this. So it kind of creates this U-shaped channel. You stick your bandsaw strip in there and you plane it down, and the little pieces of stock that the block plane is riding on the edges, that becomes your depth stop. So you can knock those things to final thickness pretty easily. So those are your strips. And then from there, if you're cutting the notches, check out books by Desmond King. He's written 3 or 4 of them now. Probably the first book is good. And he talks about creating a jig that allows you to create the notches by sawing each wall of the notch with a Japanese saw, and then you get a little 1/8-inch chisel and you pop out the bottom of it. And then you repeat that 5 million times,
So it's,
which is why I use a table saw.
but it's definitely doable.
Absolutely doable. Yes. Yeah. Don't let the lack of a table saw, or especially a drum sander, don't let either one of those stop you from trying this out, because it is a really cool handwork intensive thing that you can do with, almost no tools. Bandsaw's good. Otherwise, you're just going to be ripping this stock by hand, which, hey, if you like to do that, go for it. I would rather not do that.
Could you? No. I guess if you were doing really thin or short Kumiko panels, I guess, could you use like a veneer saw and a straight edge to rip parts out, to rip the, or is that just being stupid?
Well, I mean, here's something. I was like in a craft store, might have been Michael's or something like that. And they had that whole little section of that used to be balsa wood, and now it's just some sort of a softwood in like really small dimensions for, I guess it's for like dollhouses and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you can get like a sheet of like 1/8-inch thick stock, which is maybe 2 or 3 inches wide. If it's already to the thickness, then you could maybe use like a straight edge piece of MDF with sandpaper on the bottom and a veneer saw to then pop out those strips out of something like that. That might be really cool. That is a tough thing. If you're getting into Kumiko because it's a handwork thing, but then all of a sudden you need all this machine work to get the strips ready to go, that is kind of a big stumbling block. And that wood, it's a nice light color, tight grain. I don't know if it's an aspen or basswood, but all those woods I think are fine for Kumiko. I'm going to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Try it.
Yeah. Good luck, Matt. Figure it out.
Worth it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that'll do it for this little pregame episode. If you are headed over to Southbridge, Massachusetts, if you're listening to this while driving or flying or something, make sure you say hello to us when you get there.
Yeah.
And if not, maybe you can come next year, right?
You should. I mean, it's a big nut to crack. It is inexpensive, but there's a lot of things more expensive that aren't as fun.
Well, and like I've been doing ads for live every now and then, and one thing that I say is like, come hang out with people who are like you, kind of weird and into woodworking.
Yeah.
And I really mean it. Like a
bunch of people like that.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be funny, but like I do mean it. It's like really satisfying to talk woodworking with people in person.
Yeah.
And
if you're one of the people who are like driven to listen to the podcast just because you don't know anyone else that are woodworkers and would laugh at a joke about dovetails, then Find Woodworking Live is like that experience on steroids.
Does anybody know any jokes about dovetails?
I guess you haven't seen any of my dovetails. So.
Oh, wow. The other thing to add to that, though, is like that need to see things in person. And it doesn't have to be Find Woodworking Live. It could be whatever event, or school, or a Lee Nielsen event. I think it's really good I've said this before. I just want to reiterate. It's like I was looking at an early project of mine the other day, and I thought I was done sanding. And now I look at it, and I wasn't done sanding. Where there's like, you look at it, you're like, there's like obvious table saw marks right there. What? But I hadn't seen fine enough pieces or touched things to give me that kind of perspective.
Yeah, that's really true.
And so like you come to an event like that and you'll see, or like Find Woodworking Live, you'll see finished pieces. It's at the student exhibition, finished really high-end pieces. And you see the fit and finish and how tight the doors are fit and how good the drawers are done. And it's really nice to see that perspective in a non-museum setting.
Half inspiring. Because you say, okay, this is what I'm shooting for. This is cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I've made a lot of pieces of furniture throughout my career. I can't say I've made anything that I've been more proud of than the plinth that I just made out of MDF and painted it white, because I get to be in the gallery show because, yes, I'm so happy. So I have my little drop front desk little guy, and if you want to be in it, you have to make your own plinth. So I got some like MDF and some bright white eggshell latex paint. I nailed it. It looks so good.
Was it better than your last shipping crate?
Yeah, my last shipping crates were slightly underbuilt, unfortunately.
Oh, they were underbuilt?
Yeah, I'm redesigning them as we speak.
You were really proud of it.
I was so proud of them. Yeah. But
For
I'm
the
more,
listeners, he was really proud of these shipping crates.
I am. I'm more proud of my plinth.
Okay.
And I have it in the house because I don't want to get sawdust on it. Every time I walk by, I say, look at that plinth. And my wife is just driving her crazy. So, and plus you get to say plinth, which is awesome.
I know. It's a word I learned just by working here.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. That's all for this pregame episode of Shop Talk Live.
Right on.
If you are listening, sign on to Facebook tonight, where we're going to be doing the Fine Woodworking Shop Talk live from Fine Woodworking live on Facebook Live. We might do it on YouTube. I'm not sure yet, but sign on to one of those. Watch us make fools of ourselves live.
I don't have to do that one, right?
Nope.
Awesome.
But we will have Christian Bexford on stage.
Yeah.
We will have Nancy Hiller on stage. We will have Vic Teslin on stage.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, we're bringing the big guns.
All right.
All
Who's it? You and
Anissa
Mr.
and
McKenna?
Tom.
Anissa. Wow. Oh, so like 3 people, but not me.
Tom thought since you were presenting that day and the next day, you needed a break.
All right. Everyone else is going to be busy too.
You can be drinking beer.
You're going to be busier than anybody else.
Yeah. Not very. Sucker. All right.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to I will be there. I will listen to that.
All right. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks for listening.
Cool. Give me a big, fat, wet kiss.